Give me two players that need to step up and two players that need to step up out of the starting lineup.
Okay. The two players that need to step up, I'll give you one on offense, one on defense. Defensively, Nick Bosa. Bosa, especially now that Hargrave's out. Bosa was great in the press conference. You know, we need to learn from this loss. We need to really accept it. We need to sit in it and bask in it for a while. I love all those things. And today he was super disappointed as well. He has to be a difference maker. He has to be able to take over games. It's not enough to get a few pressures here or there. Like, you have to be an absolute game changer and game wrecker, a noticeable one. So he has to step up. And with no Hargrave, right now you've got, and this is shocking to me too, but you've got Floyd on the opposite side. And I said in the offseason, man, Floyd is the best partner opposite of Bosa that they've had since D Ford. Like, he's the perfect player opposite of him. He's done nothing. He's one of the worst pass rushers in the whole NFL from the defensive end position, according to PFF. And according to film, he's just not doing anything. He's not good against the run. He can't get home. It's awful. He hasn't done anything. Bosa has to figure out a way to be a one-man wrecking crew until everybody else can get on his level. That's just the way that it has to be. So Bosa has to step up. And also, then the other one
has to step up because right now he's giving nothing. Nothing.
I agree. He definitely does. And then, you know, the obvious one that everybody's talking about is Ayuk. I mean, I think there's a lot that goes into it. Right now, Brandon Ayuk doesn't have the numbers. But everybody talks about separation, and it's all a BS stat. Do you realize that in week 3, he had the best separation rate of any receiver in any individual game all season long? So it's not that Brandon Ayuk's not getting separation. Brandon Ayuk can't scheme for himself. He can't throw to himself. But what he can do is catch the damn ball when it's thrown to you.
Yeah.
You cannot have what he has 2 drops already this season. You can't.
So
you
Ronnie
can't
Bell. You don't want to be in the same sentence as Ronnie Bell with that, man.
Exactly.
Too good for that. $30 million a year. No one wants to hear it.
Cannot happen. So in week 1, I understand it. It's your first week back. You haven't played. Okay. But now you're in week 3 and you are the guy. You cannot have any drops. So he has to be able to step up, and when the ball is thrown his way, whether that's once or it's 10 times, if it's incomplete, it cannot be because you dropped the ball. So he has to step up.
And it was crazy. Like, they're not even asking him. I mean, he doesn't even have to be the number 1 receiver right now because Jennings is hot. It's like, just if they give you 7 targets, catch 6, dude. Like, they gave you 10 targets last week. You caught 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying it's not all your fault, but Jennings got 12. Can I just say real quick? I'm looking at Jennings' numbers. He's been targeted 21 times this year. He's caught 18 passes. Dude, he has more. Okay, so Jennings has 18 catches for 276 yards. Justin Jefferson has 14 catches for 273. They both have had 21 targets. Jennings has caught 4 more passes and has 3 more yards. I'm not saying he's better than Justin Jefferson. I'm just saying they both have the exact same numbers and 3 touchdowns. So maybe it's Justin Jefferson and Juwan Jennings as the 2 greatest wide receivers in the league right now. I'm just saying. And Rashee Rice is there too, and Nico Collins. Those guys are the ones balling out early in the season. Look, Jennings may never do this again, so I think he deserves some credit. Like, what an incredible run that stretches back to the Super Bowl, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one thing well, I mean, the one catch he had along the sidelines was absolutely incredible. But I mean, that was absolutely insane. Underthrown. It easily should have been batted down, and he just took it away from him. Fantastic. But, you know, Ayuk's job right now as the number 1 receiver is sometimes you're meant to be a decoy. And I promise you, a lot of Jennings is getting a lot of one-on-one play because of Brandon Ayuk.
The first touchdown was a function of overreacting to Brandon Ayuk.
Absolutely it was. Yeah. And that's okay. That is okay. It you know, I know everybody wants to see the numbers, but as long as you're helping this team win, however you can, blocking, pulling away the double coverage so Jennings can eat, whatever that looks like. But you have to do that to the best of your ability. And then the 2 players that just have to get out of this lineup at all costs. There's a bunch that we can name. I'll give you the obvious one, but I'll go to defense. Yadam. How many people talked up Yadam this offseason? Like, oh my, he just had a breakout season and he's going to be so good. And I remember saying, maybe we should pump the brakes on a guy who's been in the league for like 6 years and finally had a breakout season. Maybe he just got lucky in a season. Maybe he's not that great. And guess what? He's not that great. Yadam has to get out of the lineup. Every big play, it seems like, is happening against him. And if it's not happening against him, then it's happening against Campbell. He does nothing effectively right now. He is not a good football player anymore. He's old. He's slow-footed. He's plotting out there. It's just not a good look. Get them both off the field and infuse some youth into this lineup, please.
Okay, I like that. I want to go back to the step up list because I think there's more players in the step up list than the step out, step off list. How about Isaac Garendo? Isaac, you're a project. You weren't supposed to be playing. We need you, man, because they're wearing down Jordan Mason right now. He's been slightly less effective in each game. And that's to be expected. I mean, he's running a lot. His style of running is very, very physical and violent. They're going to wear him down unless Isaac Garendo can actually step up and give them a good 5 to 10 carries a game. And I'm not saying he can't do it. He was just as effective in terms of yards per carry in this last game as Mason was. So he had 1 carry week 2, like 5 carries week 3. He needs to have like 10 carries, and they need to be efficient. Garendo's a big one.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And not only that, I mean, Mason is facing 8-man boxes more than any running back in the league. Like, these teams are keying in on him.
I got one more too. Juice.
Oh, okay.
Juice. You make a lot of money, dude. You need more than 6 yards. And we had 6 yards and a penalty.
Yeah, he did.
But but the motions were great. Like, come on, man. No Kittle. Like, you should be a star. Like, Eric Sobert shouldn't have more freaking yards than you. You're making like more than twice of what he's making. Juice. Is that too much to ask for him to do something, or because it seems like when he gets opportunities, he comes through. So maybe I'm not just talking about him, but like Kyle, like you need to use this guy. He was asked today, like, well, what's the hidden value of having a fullback? He's like, well, teams have to honor the I formation. It limits what they do. That's the only reason he's on the field, to limit coverages. Like, come on, man.
He didn't he like repeat the question back? He was like, oh, well, I mean, the great thing about having a fullback is that they're a fullback on the field. It's like, wait, what? Is that what? Really? You just? Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I feel like it's like almost. I mean, it's almost. You don't want to say Juice because he's not going to. He's been on the team for 8 years and they don't give him the ball. What about Kittle? I mean, he was hurt last year. He played through it. He's hurt again this year. He's really important, but like, is this the end of the line? They pushed Armstead out because he was a little injury prone 2 years in a row. Like, is this it for George? Because I was the guy saying, I like George. I got his shoes over here. Thank you, George. But I was the guy that was like, hey, I think Walsh would trade him now. I think it's a year too early. Clearly, it was a year too early, but I think this is the year too early. And he needs to prove that we're not a year too late right now because he got hurt week 2.
Yeah, and he's coming.
He didn't even make it through week 2. He was cramping up.
Yeah, and I noticed it last year when I went to week 1's game against Pittsburgh, and then throughout the season, every time I watch him, it's like he's limping every time that he goes back to the huddle. He's got a limp. He's more Gronkowski than he is Kelsey. He's more Gronkowski Gronkowski than Kelsey, meaning Gronkowski retired at like 29, then he came back 2 years later, played for a season and retired again. He's the same age as Kelsey, and he's been retired twice for a couple years. Kelsey's still playing, so
yeah. If you like Kelsey's game isn't based on physicality and breaking tackles and blocking. He's very sleek. He gets separation. He avoids contact, which is like, oh, he's not a real tight end. Yeah, but he's a Hall of Famer who's had a very long career and had incredible receiving production. Whereas Kittle to me is like, along with Gronkowski, those are probably the 2 tight ends who were the best ever at like breaking tackles. And they were also great blockers. And that's why Gronkowski be a Hall of Famer and Kittle could have an argument for it. But that leads to a shorter career every time.
Well, and then the other obvious step out is Ronnie Bell. If not Cowing, why not Conley?
Yeah.
Why was Conley? Yeah. That was strange.
Like Conley actually made plays for them in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and yes, in the Super
Ronnie
Bowl,
Bell hasn't even made plays in preseason, man. He's had these same drops in preseason and college. I like the way he moves. He's intriguing. You can do a lot with him, but like practice squad.
He was really good the few days in training camp that I was there. I will say that.
I'm sure he's great. I've seen him beat Travarius Ward in practice, but
yeah,
practice squad.
I mean, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what you've seen in games just has to overshadow what you've seen in practice. He's just too many drops, man. Too many big drops.
What does Kyle say? Like, oh, the stage is too big for you. The lights are too bright. Him.
Yeah.
Him. And like, if that's something you look for, then like, how has he passed that test? And how is he ready for this? I understand that Jacob Cowing dropped a punt. Maybe he's not ready either. I could defer to Kyle, although his track record of not knowing about Purdy and not knowing about Jennings and not knowing about Mason makes me feel like, I'd like to see Cowing, see what he can do. But if not him, then Conley. What about Trent Taylor?
Oh God, don't please. I'm willing to bet that even if Pearsall was not on IR, that he also wouldn't have been on the field in that game. It's just what Kyle does, man.
I will say, if Pearsall comes back and gets on the field quicker than Cowing, I need an explanation. And I don't like it. Like last year, I asked Kyle, like, "Hey, Kyle, how come you're not playing Jordan Mason so much?" And he's like, "Because he's our third running back." Like, end of story.
Yeah, yeah. Like, dummy. He's number 3.
And it's like, well, and now
we
it's
have
like,
a depth chart.
Yeah, it's right here. It's like, well, why aren't you playing Jacob Cowing? Because he's on the bottom of the depth chart. It's like, well, your depth chart's usually wrong. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. You want to know what your depth chart is? It's when you open Madden and there's a bunch of injured players and you don't auto reorder your depth chart. Like, that's your depth chart. You need to hit square and auto reorder that baby and get the good players actually on the field again.
Honestly, like in 2019, he never got Raheem Mostert in the starting lineup. Never. And then he did the next year. And then he had reasons for it. Well, Tevin Coleman is gonna he's supposed to be like
started the Super Bowl after
he had some stupid reason about how he's supposed to wear down the defense with his bruising style. Like Tevin Coleman is bruising the defense. Like, no, he's just they want you to give it to Tevin Coleman. That's the best thing you could ever remember when they used to give the ball to Tevin Coleman? That was part of their offense, like 15 carries a game to Tevin Coleman. Like, wow. What a generous thing to do for the other team. Like, we could give it to Debo or Kittle or Mostert, but we're going to give 40% of our offensive snaps to Tevin Coleman. Thank you.